for the entire panel, in your guys' opinion, I think I know where a lot of you guys are at. Who was the best quarterback in the regular season? Quarterback, take away
Lamar.
team success.
Lamar, Josh.
So Joe Burrow
Josh,
isn't in this conversation.
He's
100%
in the conversation.
Joe's
in the top.
He was the third
4 or
best.
5.
He's the third. He
Burrow,
was
you
comfortably
wanna
the
talk
third best.
Carrying a
this
team.
regular season.
It was comfortably them three.
If Joe Burrow didn't do what he did every single Sunday, some Thursdays, occasional Mondays, they had no chances of being in any single game. You want to talk about valuable? It's Joe Burrow. Look at the numbers. Look at his success on the offensive side.
Number one. Every
you
year,
can make the
Lamar
argument for
and
Josh
Josh
and
lead
Lamar.
out better offenses than
So
Burrow.
you're saying, so what we're saying
better
is,
offenses than
what
Joe
we're
Burrow.
ultimately saying is,
Receiving for
unless you
no
have
what he
a
has.
great supporting cast on the opposite side of your team's ball, that you can't be in these conversations. Is that what we're saying?
Not at
No.
all. I'm just saying
The Ravens'
Burrow
defense was
is
dog
better
shit for the
than
first
Lamar.
8 months of the season.
Every single week. It did not matter the defense unless it was the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the best defense in football. The Cincinnati Bengals went out there and destroyed the opposing defense
Are you
every
aware that
single
the
week.
Bills
And Joe
had
Burrow
a-
was near flawless every single game. That's all
Okay.
So if it comes down to this, that's where I want to stay consistent, because if you guys are going, oh, after this year, I'm taking Josh Allen as the king because, again, he went and he beat Mahomes. He has these great counting stats, which I don't disagree with you, Carson. Oh, the advanced stats, the EPA. Well, let's go look at Joe Burrow stats.
Joe Burrow didn't
Let's
make the
look at his
playoff.
EPA. He's incredible. He has a Super Bowl appearance. He has beat Patrick Mahomes. It's not as if we can't just have it where it's Josh and it's Lamar. Joe Burrow is in that short list too.
Yeah, but Josh and Lamar are above him.
Josh and Lamar.
I mean, they're just different kinds of offensive engines.
I think that he's in the conversation.
All-time great dual threats. It's just a different level of transformative impact. That's why Zay Flowers
Joe
can be the
Burrow
wide
has
receiver
Jamar
one.
Chase.
We all have Joe Burrow as
has
the
a
fourth
horrendous
best quarterback.
offensive line. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. I'm not going to say that Joe Burrow is anywhere near the dual threat that Josh and Lamar is. That's a fact. But his ability to his pocket presence, his ability to maneuver around the pocket is up there with Patrick Mahomes, and that is it.
Well, I also think that Joe Burrow is one of the best improvisers in the NFL.
He's underrated. He's underrated.
He's not Lamar,
He's not
Josh
dual
Allen
threat.
level
He's
playmaker on the outside because he's not the scrambler. But he still creates outside the structure all the time.
Even with that being said, Josh and Lamar still had better years, and the offense was still better.
This year?
Exactly.
This year?
Yes.
No.
Buffalo's offense was better than the Bengals.
Bills were all-time efficient.
Yeah, the Buffalo
because
offense.
they were winning. They were not winning football games. Does not take away from what Joe
listening.
Burrow was
This
doing.
offense was better.
Drive. Bills and Ravens were above them.
Yes,
they were scoring.
The Ravens were
Joe
literally
Burrow's
like
sole production
all time in yards per drive, and the Bills were all time in points per
Brother,
drive.
hold on, no.
Every year.
What?
Every year, these dudes lead out better offenses than Burrow. I'm not exaggerating,
bro.
Look at every single year of their career, Lamar is healthy or Josh plays. Every single year, Drew, they lead out better scoring offenses, and it's because they're just different. They are all-time great dual threats, all-time athletes, and they have a different ability to enhance their situation. Burrow is an amazing pocket passer. Yes, he's a good improviser, but he's not close to those guys out of structure because they're freaks. Like, I think there's a strong case that Josh and Lamar are the two most impactful regular season quarterbacks ever because you can put any personnel around them and they will get you to score 28 to 30 points per game.
I just feel like in this conversation with Joe Burrow, we always overlook the offensive line. The offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL.
Horrible.
I think we have to bring that up because it takes a lot away of what you can call offensively. They can't run the ball. They haven't been.
They haven't been
Lamar and T. Higgins.
Yes, it helps that they have them, but it doesn't help as much if you had a great offensive line and a balanced attack. If you have an all-around balanced attack, that helps a lot too. Joe Burrow's stats, even when one of those two dudes don't play, he puts up MVP caliber numbers. He still has a pass rating of over 100. So even when one of those guys is on the field, Joe Burrow is still putting out elite level production. So it's not like he needs both of those guys. One of them, and he's still going to be Joe Burrow, whether it's just T. Higgins and no Jamar Chase, or Jamar Chase and no T. Higgins.
James Cook just led the league in
Anthony
touchdowns.
Miller,
Derrick
Rashad,
Henry is a first ballot Hall of
nobody out
Famer.
there.
And when it comes to Joe Burrow, I will say,
I mean, but
from this season, I do think Lamar Jackson was the best statistical quarterback in the NFL.
I'm fine.
When watching all of their tapes, Joe Burrow was just as impressive on a down-to-down basis this year as all those two guys.
Sure.
Just
100%.
as impressive. I don't think there's a gap between them. I think they're all in the same tier. They're the next three up. And I think Joe Burrow belongs in that conversation. And when we talk about who do we trust more in the playoffs, I would go Allen, Burrow, and then I go Lamar. I think Burrow, he has more trust from me in a postseason setting than Lamar Jackson.
I understand that. My only pushback with the Lamar versus Josh Allen dynamic is, yeah, we can point to James Cook now, and sure, he had Stephon Diggs, right? But it's Josh. It's Josh, not by himself, but it's him. And Lamar, I get that he had Derrick Henry this year, right? And that's why I was more confident in the Ravens this year than any year previously, because some of that burden had been lifted off of his shoulders. Lamar was still doing this with Justice Hill and Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. It's like the Ravens are an elite offense every year. And the key dynamic to me, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I love Joe Burrow. I've gone to bat for Joe Burrow so many times. I think he is one of the 15. I've watched a lot of quarterbacks in my time, guys. He is one of the 15 most talented QBs I've ever watched. Lamar and Josh and Pat are all on that list as well. When we're just looking at ability, Burrow is in one of the top 15 ever. The key difference to me is short yardage situations, third down, and red zone. And that is where the difference of those guys' legs makes a real difference to me. The threat of Lamar rushing, the time that you guys give credit to Joe being behind a bad offensive line. I don't think Lamar has the best pass-protecting offensive line in front of him. He scrambles around behind the pocket like he's college football Johnny Manziel or he's Fran Tarkenton in the 70s, right? He does all this superhuman stuff to create plays, and I just think the dual threat ability of Lamar and Josh is more valuable to team offensive results and stresses defenses in ways that you just don't have to worry about with Joe Burrow. And that's not taking anything away from him, but that is the key difference to me in why those guys, because to me, it goes, if we're doing tiers, Mahomes is in a tier by himself. He is the Grim Reaper, number one. Tier 2 is Josh and Lamar. And then tier 3, maybe Joe Burrow can be by himself. But it's not, Joe is not in that group. And I'm just saying in terms of team offense and individual offensive engine ability, there is a difference to me between those guys.
I agree.
I think if his offensive arm is slightly better, he would be a little bit more of a presence rushing the football because he'd have more time.
You're saying,
I mean, it's just not remotely comparable to Lamar and Josh.
No, I'm not. Am I trying to say that? Absolutely not. Lamar's the greatest rushing quarterback in the history of this game, and he just figured out last year how to be an elite passer. Josh Allen, obviously, we know that he's great, but Joe Burrow is, of the three, the best passing quarterback. I think that to me, I'm taking Joe Burrow and his arm easily.
I think that
I'm
taking Burrow over Lamar for the playoffs.
I just feel like there are four phases of offensive football that we talk about. It's quarterback and offensive line, receiving weapons, and then running game. I think the Bengals have two of those four. I think they lack a run game, and I think they lack an offensive line.
But
whenever Joe Burrow,
most impactful quarterbacks for the run game ever.
I understand that. When you look at Burrow, when he's been healthy, the Bengals have had the 7th, 7th, and 7th ranked offense in terms of points scored. So it's not a top 5 unit. But I also think that if Burrow had a better offensive line and run game in front of him, then the offense 100%. Could easily be a top 5 unit. 100%. And then we're talking about the offensive output being as good as those guys.
Probably number one.
I mean, not everything. Not everything.
Josh and Lamar haven't had these loaded groups in yet every single year. They lead out a top 5
It's not about having everything. It's about having a glimpse of support. Lamar Jackson, since he's been on the Ravens, has had a great offensive line. They always rank top 10 within offensive line groups since he's been healthy.
Running backs, for the most part, it's bad. The running backs, because Lamar makes
no doubt.
The coaching with Greg Roman was bad.
As of recently, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, a great offensive line.
Rashad Bateman there. Rashad Bateman's good. He's really good.
Yeah, I think that offensive personnel as a whole is better than just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially
but not certainly not last year's.
Just this season, yes, because you have Henry. Bateman broke out to be a solid wide receiver too. Likely took another step up, but Andrews took a step back this year. If you look at last year, the weapons and running game that Lamar had, it was bad. It's rookie Zay Flowers, and it's nothing. It's fucking Gus Edwards.
And this is the first year that Josh has had a really good offensive line. And everybody said that the Bills offense was going to regress because they lost Diggs and Khalil Shakir was going to be the #1 receiver. And half of NFL fans hadn't heard of that guy. And then they became the 5th offense this century to average 3 points per drive when Josh was on the field. That's what Josh and Lamar do for their offenses in the regular season. Then Josh also goes and produces historically in the playoffs, much better than Burrow has on a game-to-game basis. Burrow just also had an awesome defensive run and kicking run in his Super Bowl run. I think
he
it's
also
pretty
threw for 300 yards against Tennessee, who was the #1 seed.
Yeah,
he had some great moments, and I'm a guy who kind of shits on that run.
Goat, man.
He also outplayed Josh Allen on the road. We can't forget that.
Oh, yeah,
he definitely did do that.
Yeah, that was also just a team drubbing. That
was boy, but he outplayed him drastically.
Played better in that game. Yeah, but I don't think that was even the lead story of that game. I thought that was an absolute murder in the trenches. But yeah, he did. That's one game. We have larger playoff sample sizes.
Well, Joe Burrow recently, wasn't it just last year on primetime? The Bengals beat the Bills?
I'm talking about playoffs. I'm talking about their playoff.
I'm talking playoffs. It's
call me up when Joe Burrow is #1 all time in playoff yards per game and playoff touchdowns per game.
How many playoff wins does Josh Allen have?
Like 7.
Not enough.
Bro's at 5. He's right there. Bro, one postseason run. He got it.
Man, put that dude in the NFC.